Welcome to the Max Bet Podcast, a podcast dedicated to everything gaming. I'm Landon Jones, here with Mike McKiskey. Let's get started.
So what is good, my man? How was Vegas?
Well, first of all, hello, Mike.
Yeah, sorry. Hello. I was just
Hey,
keyed
buddy.
up to hear about your trip to Vegas
Yeah.
that I don't even want to get to the social niceties.
Vegas was insane, man. We went to the Virgin Hotel opening Thursday night.
Yeah.
And my guest was Keith Harris.
For those that don't know, I didn't know this. Producer of the Black Eyed Peas, right? And other artists.
Drummer of the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, drummer and producer. And then
Produced 9 songs of Michael Jackson. Sorry, I'll let you go.
No, you go. You're actually better at this. He's a
This is
freaking
good.
stud.
Total stud.
Also, nicest guy in the world. You talk to him, you're
Correct.
like, you would not know that this is some international superstar guy. He's just like a regular, chop it up with you, not texting the whole time like some wacko celebrity. Like he's like just a really salt of the earth dude. So I didn't hang out with him as much as you did, but what a legend it was just chatting with him.
Yeah, I hung out with him till 2 a.m. at Virgin, which is a cool property. It's super weird to not see it as the Hard Rock.
Yeah, right.
Because and I don't know if this was your case in college, but that was kind of like our home casino because it was right across the street from UNLV.
Yeah, you had rehab there too, right? So it was like the Pink Taco. It was a good spot for hanging out. Yeah, that's always going to be, I think, the Hard Rock to me.
But it looks completely different inside now.
Yeah, well, they did.
I mean, the general structure, but the center bar is gone. I didn't even know what room I was in. I go, oh my gosh, this is where the center bar used to be.
Yeah, you're trying to like piece it together. You're like, okay, so where would I have been in the old footprint, right? Yeah, exactly.
It was wild, dude. It was good though, but so Vegas was packed. It's good to see Vegas coming back. I mean, Vegas was packed. It was also March Madness weekend, spring break. But it was interesting because we couldn't get rides anywhere.
Yeah, Uber, right?
Anywhere.
Couldn't get them.
Couldn't get an Uber, couldn't get a cab. We talked to the cab driver and he just said everybody's enjoying they're making more money on unemployment than they are driving a cab, so that none of them want to come back.
Crazy.
Same with Uber.
Yeah, we had dinner over the weekend up in our neighborhood, which is residential. Yeah. And then somebody was like, "Oh, I need to grab an Uber down to the strip." They were going, I don't know where they were going, Paris, I think. Yeah. And they pinged it and it was like, no, there's no Ubers. I mean, not even in the neighborhood. So I just said, I wrote it off because I was like, oh, well, they're all down for March Madness, right? Like you're probably getting the big money going from like Circa to Cosmo to MGM, right? Just kind of doing surge pricing, short trips. But turns out, I guess there's just not a lot of people riding Uber right now or like not driving right now.
I paid a guy $80 to take me from the Wynn to the Cosmo. There was a line.
You lazy bastard. Just walking. It's like half a mile.
No, where were we? No, Wynn to Cosmo was far, dude.
It
took a minute.
Yeah. Well,
and
traffic.
There was 10 people in the line at Wynn, and the valet guy said, you'll be in this line for an hour and a half. He's like, we can't get any cab drivers. Same with leaving Virgin. It's interesting that it's the movement of people is so important in a city like Las Vegas. And we kind of don't even think about that, right? Like being able to move people around quickly from property to property, so important for the health of Vegas in terms of, it's crazy. So,
well, especially given as much as they're doing downtown, right? Because again, you're right. Wynn to Cosmo is probably not a fun walk, especially if you look good, like you got, suit shoes or something on, dress shoes. You're in your Air Jordans, it's probably fine, but it's, a different program. But like, going for Cosmo, like Circa, right? Like you ain't walking that. No. Even you run like crazy. Like you're not doing that. Like you're going, that's a car. So you got to get somebody to take you over there. And if you don't have it, but I bet it's funny. I bet they start ramping that back up though. Like I bet March Madness caught a lot of people by surprise. Like, well, I didn't know it was going to be crazy. And then it was crazy. It was too late. So we'll see. And
we went to the first Vegas. I don't know if it was the first Vegas pool party, but we went to Encore Beach Club. It was just wild to see people back. I mean, people are just ready to get out, and you could see that.
Were they masked up in the pool, or were they like no discipline on the mask? Yeah.
No.
I guess outside it's not as important. I don't know.
The other thing is I went with a friend, and we were going to
friend.
A lady friend.
Lady friend. Nice.
I don't know if I don't know that we're ready.
We're going lady friend. That's it. We don't have to go any more than
that. So I was with a friend.
Give the people a picture.
And she flew in, and then we had different flights out. So I go, you know what? I'll just cancel my flight and I'll get on your flight. Cancel my flight, try to jump on her flight, full. Then I go back to try to get my flight, gone.
Sold your seat. Yeah.
So I'm like, shit. So then I'm looking for a rental car. We couldn't get in. There were no rental cars available. I got one at the Westin.
Yep.
It took us 9.5 hours to drive from Vegas to San Diego.
In the face. There's nothing I hate more than that. That's probably one of the worst feelings. So what kind of car did you end up with? Did you get a sweet ride, or were you just lucky to get some old like Volkswagen Beetle that can do the job?
Look, I hate to say it because I don't want to sound like pompous.
You're bougie, just get it.
Yeah, but I had this like shitty ass red Toyota Corolla with the worst. And I didn't realize it until about 4.5 hours in that my seat was propped up at like a whatever
like a collapsed
90-degree angle. I'm just
sitting like a Frankenstein. Yeah, see, that's where you need the big guy energy, because I get in any car and the first move, seat goes all the way back. I check the angle of recline. Like the seat is paramount for me getting in any car. So for you just sitting there like at the hunchback angle, that's tough.
Funny. Halfway through, I clicked it back and I go, oh, that's so much better. And my friend, my friend that drove back with me, she goes, I thought that's just how you like to ride. Like I thought you were an idiot the whole time.
She's like, I just thought you like driving like your grandfather, just hunched over really close to the wheel. No big deal. She's probably so relieved that you did that, 'cause she's like, okay, so he's not a total wacko. I can continue to hang out with this person. 9.5 hours in the car. Did you guys play a little 99 bottles of beer on the wall, or like how'd that go? Because
no, we created an entire playlist. We had a full out dance party. Yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. About 6 hours in, I was done having fun. I was like, okay, this is
6 hours. 6 hours in, you're usually there. So for you to have another 3.5 to go, I couldn't even imagine.
It's pretty brutal.
All right, so playlist top. What was the first song you added? You guys are jamming. What kind of vibe are we doing on this playlist?
Oh man, 9.5 hours. We went through every genre, brother.
Every song there is.
I could have wrote 9 songs in the time that it took me to get back to Vegas.
Text Keith, be like, yo, I got the next Ritmo, right? He just won like 5 Grammys for that song. So it's like, yeah, geez.
Rolling in a Corolla. I'm not a rapper.
Or a singer. Did it bother you the car was red? I found it interesting you called that detail out.
It was just the whole thing. Listen, it was a fine car.
That's all right. Yeah.
I'm happy that I was able to get home.
Yeah. Good.
In 9.5 hours.
Very grateful for your time. Yeah. I always laugh because being on the Vegas side, you don't get that. Right. So it's like anytime we go to California back, we have the good flow of traffic, and then you just see the news going 17-mile backup at State Line. I'm like, oh, feel bad for those poor suckers. You were the sucker this past weekend. That's tough.
100%.
Hey, at least you won some money though. How'd you win that? What game were you playing, or what was the setup for that?
Yeah, well, I didn't even tell you I won money. So now I guess.
Well, you told me offline, so I knew that. So now I'm bringing it to the people.
Yeah, we played a little bit. It was. I don't even want to say the game because it's just. I'm embarrassed. It was Game of Thrones.
Okay, I'm thinking like, what game could be embarrassing? Okay, so you went down the branded rabbit hole.
Game of Thrones, the Farmville. Well,
wait, what?
My friend.
Both?
Yeah. She liked the branded games, so.
She's a new gambler, of course, man. That's how they get you in the door. You never gambled before? Put it on Game of Thrones. Put it on Farmville. Billions.
That's
whatever.
Too funny,
Little
man.
Shop of Horrors. Shark.
Well, wait, what did you say?
I'm just listing off brands. Nothing really. No rhyme or reason. Just hanging out, doing it.
So EKG.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of cool shit, our friends at Eilers and Kraychek Gaming, EKG, they just released their latest this year's slot awards winners. So unfortunately, due to COVID, we weren't sure if we could have the event. So we all miss out on tuxedos and cocktails, but a lot of good folks still won a handful of awards. So they've announced those online. So if you're not following them, or if you haven't seen it, you can head over to ekgamingllc.com. They have them there, or you can check them out on LinkedIn. I saw that's where I get them, so I follow on LinkedIn. So give them a follow there.
It's funny too. Some of the winners, it's just not even surprising, right? Scott Olive.
Oh, you're talking about lifetime. Yeah. So then that's separate, right? So they announce all the game winners, right? Yep. Where you see, okay, top performing premium games, top performing stepper games, new cabinet core boxes, right? Like all this different stuff. So all good stuff. So if you're interested, again, I think what they're saying is if you win this, you were probably top of the category for the most time in the year. It's kind of how they measure it. But then they also inducted 2 folks to the Hall of Fame. So to your point, Scott Olive, AKA Scotty in the Shower, winner, Hall of Famer, and then Charlie Lombardo. So famous for his work with Seminoles and others. So those 2 gents, hat tip to you boys, and welcome to the Eilers Hall of Fame. I don't say welcome, but you go. I'm not in it, but yeah, you guys, good for you. So that's huge.
They missed a category though.
What was the category? Best podcast. That's it. We're just gonna shamelessly wear them down. If I'm them though, if I'm them hearing us just go on and on about the need for the best podcast category, they would create it and then give it to someone else. That's what I would do. That like, actually. Hey, you guys, sorry boys, second place, but we're giving it to I don't know, whoever else is out there doing this.
First place loser.
You guys got a set of steak knives, but they're Cadillac Eldorado. Speaking of winners, and I don't know, Cadillacs feels right. Who we got today, man?
Oh boy. The only person you want to talk about second place or first place loser here. We have Casey Whalen, who comes in at number 1 for best hair in the gaming industry.
You're a close second.
So, I mean, there's other good ones out there, but he definitely takes the cake on that one.
Yeah. Get the hair man himself.
Yeah.
Dude, what a fascinating life he's lived. I mean, I'm laughing because, we just see, I told a few people we're interviewing him and we can't even fit it all in. I guarantee you, because the amount of stuff, I'm like, dude, we could do a Joe Rogan style interview here, go 3 hours on all this stuff and probably still run out of time. So it'll be interesting to see, what we can get into with him. A couple key questions, but
he's just such a good dude, man. I've never seen Casey in a bad mood. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always the life of the party. Yeah. Super excited to learn more about his history and what he's been up to and what they're up to at Bluberi.
Yeah, we'll bring in Mr. Bluberi.
Should we rock it?
Let's rock it.
Pump it. Let's roll it, baby.
Pump it. We're doing it. So Casey, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming on.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Flattered.
Well, welcome to the Max Bet podcast. I usually wear a hat for these, but I didn't want to because I have to compete with this thing. What is I love
Look at the hair. I was going to say, you guys are the 2 best hair in the biz, I think. You're at least up there.
Dude, Lando's is way higher and tighter and looks better than mine. This is just shaggy, trying to keep people off guard that all hair and no brains is always my fault.
I thought you were just trying to add a couple inches to the height. That's Landon's secret. He's like, I'm 6 foot with the hair. You're already 6 foot though. Yeah.
That's a good way to start. Colleen Coddington, who you work with, when we worked together at Bally, she put me up against a wall and said, "You're not 5'10", and she measured me. And I was 5'10" on the nose. Oh, really? So I'm not 5'9", so I'm just over.
Bang. Okay. Yeah. See, I was all thrown off. I figured maybe it is the hair. I was like, you're at 6 foot. You're a 6 foot guy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I'm really flattered.
Yeah. Well, I'm pumped to have you on. And it's fun. Like, I think Lan and I both knew you, known you for years now, just working kind of in parallel, different companies and what, but then listening to some of your backstory, I'm going, holy shit, you might be the most interesting guy in gaming. Like, I'm sure if you're not number 1, you got to be in the top 10 conversation. I mean, just looking at some of the stuff you've done, I don't even know where to start, man. But
I was looking at the list of who you guys have had, and I was like,
yeah,
Dick and Gavin had a huge, influence on me. But even on the other side, you've had LG and Pookie and Robert Perry's story. Nobody's better on what type of human and the decisions he's made than Robert, your coworker. So I'm honored to kind of be included. And I mean, Gene Veneman, you talk about a pioneer. I mean, you guys have had some really cool guests, Pat Ramsey. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing who you guys kind of find down the road. So I'm just flattered to be in that company.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Thanks for hopping on, all those guys and gals for jumping on earlier. All right. So selfishly, the thing I think that might seem the most cool to me, even though, like I said, there's a few things. So we're Rebel Pod, Glenn and I, both UNLV guys. I'm a UNLV football guy. So you were a golf coach at UNLV and
so
you were on the team when they won the national.
Yeah. So long story short, I went to Arizona State. I wasn't good enough to play there, but while I was there, I met some people that were in golf. A guy named Trip Keeney, he actually lost to Tiger Woods in his first U.S. Amateur, and they actually joined my fraternity. And befriended some people, and I ended up working in women's college golf at University of Texas, is where his sister was. And that offseason, Dwayne Knight, who's still the head coach there, done an incredible job, found me, and I showed up. And let me tell you, the team was great long before I got there. They'd been number one a long time, and it just all happened to come together the year I was there. And we won the national championship, and he's had all that success since. But yeah, it was 1997 season. We won it in 1998. So
that's crazy.
What fraternity?
I was Sigma Nu, so we had a pool at ASU. So.
Okay. Shout out to Sigma Nu.
Or you SAE?
I was a Sigma Chi, same as Berkey.
Yeah. Oh, so they were great. They were like our competitor there at ASU, and my kids have been Sigma News and Sigma SigApps now. But yeah, I know that's a great spot.
That's great. Are you still living in California, or did you move to Vegas?
Yep. So we're in Newport Beach. My wife and I and the dog, because we're empty nesters. My 26-year-old lives in Reno. My daughter's at San Diego State, and then my other son's at UNR. And so we still have a townhouse here, which is nice for work. Hotels get tiring after a while being on the road. I think I did 88 nights in hotels in 2019. So I was like, let's make the investment. So we just live on the west side of town. It's a real good fit for us.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So golf stories wise, you mentioned your buddy was like lost to Tiger Woods. Did you ever play with anybody like in that level? Like not even competitively, just palling around? Did you have any fun stories from the links?
So my one claim to fame would be that I got Adam Scott to come here. So it came down to us in Oklahoma State. Yep. And Adam was like, when he showed up, Junior Worlds in San Diego was kind of like the marquee tournament that everybody across the world would come to. When we saw him, he like swung the club like Tiger. And it came down to us in Oklahoma State, and I was able to sort of move an English class that fit into the UNLV curriculum. He like Butch Harmon was here, and we were working with Keith Clevin, who was Tiger's physical guy at the time. And then Jay Brunza, who was Tiger's mental guy, was all here. So Dwayne had put together an incredible infrastructure, and Adam chose to come here. So that's one great story. But I always tell the Tiger Woods story, and this was kind of in between my ASU years in coaching. But when you played for Wally Goodwin, who was the Stanford men's coach for a long time, even if you were a freshman, you had to carry the bags everywhere. And Tiger had an incredible reputation even before Stanford. And I'll never forget, they were playing North Ranch at the USC golf tournament, kind of out in Westlake on your way to Shumash. I always think of everything in terms of casinos.
Casino location. Yeah, exactly.
You're a city and you go, oh, the casinos. But so anyway, Tiger was unpacking the car and carrying all the guys' bags. And I was with my mom, and I said, Mom, take a picture of that, because this guy is going to the moon. Yeah. But yeah, some really awesome people. I mean, Charlie Hoffman played for us at UNLV, but just a lot of great guys. Matt Kuchar was as nice as he seems on camera there. Charles Howell was the same sort of way. A lot of and Rory Sabatini would be as probably awful in person as he shows on the golf course. So you kind of.
You still have that picture? Did your mom take the photo? I mean, I guess you didn't have cell phones back then. So
no cell phones at the time. Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I was like, oh my gosh, here's the guy of all guys.
Yeah, he's going to be the greatest player ever, or one of them, right? And he's lugging the gear.
For sure.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's how rookies learn. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if he remembers. I'm sure he rolls his eyes now. He's like, yeah, they made me carry the bag, right? But it's like you learn a lot having to be the guy that schleps the gear. I mean, I was a freshman. I played a few games. I'm no Tiger Woods, believe me, but I still had to carry all the stuff, right? Like it didn't matter. You're on the field. Well, you're still a freshman, bud. Like you still got to carry all the stuff. It doesn't matter. Like if you were good or not, like even the starting quarterback was a freshman and he carried the gear, so it's good to see everybody that holds. Doesn't matter if you're the greatest in the world or just, some regular guy like me.
Yeah, for sure. And, Wally was a military guy. So even when we go play in Hawaii, we'd stay at these beautiful hotels, and he stayed at the Army barracks at the Capio, Clipper course. So on the military base, Tiger Woods would be sleeping in a little bunk, and come out and play the next day. But it was good and humbling for him. I mean, golf's like the ultimate humbling game, right? I always say nobody's ever played the perfect round of golf, right? Nobody's ever shot 54. So you're always out there sort of trying to manage the game you have that day, right? Oh, I can't putt today, or I'm blocking the ball out over here. So it's who can make those in-game adjustments? That's what I think is the key to a good golfer, and being able to put bad shots behind you.
Yeah. Do you still enjoy playing? Like I know a lot of guys that dial into one sport for a long time go, I'm done with it. But a lot of us guys are going, hey, we golf all the time. Do you enjoy it, or are you over it?
Well, I think in fairness to you guys, like you have great camaraderie, right? Like you and AB live out, or Andrew Burke, my boss, live out on the same side of town. There's a great network of people there. For me, I love the game, but I really, to dedicate the time, I found some other loves along the way. Like I'd never run a marathon until I was 46. And then I ran 4 in 18 months, missed qualifying for Boston by like 3 minutes. I ran 3:28. But now surfing's my thing. Like if I have free time, I'm in the water. So living in Newport, I can go up to Huntington Beach, which is, Surf City, USA. But I like playing. I'll just play the scrambles that we typically play in Southern California.
Sure. In
the cherry patch that Landon should never, ever leave.
Yeah, just the
match to Saquon, or I guess it's Hamul now, but never leave.
I'm not leaving. So kind of getting into gaming, I wanted to take that same mentality that you had for golf, right? The humbleness and have you been able to kind of pull that into your career into gaming? Like,
yeah, it's taken me a while and a lot of self-reflection. I think, Adam Whitehurst, who works with you guys, has been probably the best friend and confidant I could have because of his candor and honesty. And I've always said, I don't think anybody makes more good decisions than Adam. And so when I surround somebody like myself with like somebody like Adam or other people that I think have qualities that I aspire to have that could help me fill in either blind spots or weaknesses, it's taken me time. I think maybe in the past I was threatened by those things. I hired, Steve Cohen and Mesa Whitehurst are here now. They have lots of things that they do much better than I do, but I'm not threatened by that. I think what Steve Jobs said, we didn't hire smart people to tell them what to do. We hired smart people to tell us what to do, right? Sure. And so I think, Landon, for me, I've tried to surround myself with people that, fill in the gaps for me. And then it's been, I just turned 50 earlier in the month, and being able to kind of reconcile what your strengths are and how you marry those with the people you surround yourself with at work and personally has been part of a growth pattern. But at 34, when I came into gaming, I definitely was not where I am today. I think the constant evolution and looking at your own self and your inventory and being honest with yourself is important.
It's like having a good caddy, right? You got the guy with you that helps you make the decisions when you can't. So that's pretty rad.
Yeah. This new role, when I started, Adam has a new role, but he lives in Atlanta and doesn't come into, so I'd call him and be like, I feel like I'm not doing enough, or am I in the right role? And so sometimes you just got to kind of talk to people to kind of understand what you're going through. My wife's a really a good person I could bounce things off of because she knows me so well. And, I just appreciate the honesty and candor and the ability to kind of continue to grow. That's kind of my goal. It's just like every year I tell my kids and my wife, I was like, hopefully this year I was either more patient or more understanding or more accepting as I go on. And hopefully that carries into my personal and professional life. So
that's awesome. And let's back up just a step, because I think we went in assuming people know the new role. So you're Bluberi Gaming, and it's
that's good.
Chief Commercial Officer. Is that fair? I know it's chief either commercial or revenue.
Yep. Chief Commercial Officer. Yep. And so I started here June 1st. I left Konami at the top of 2020 after a great sort of 8.5 years there. And this was an awesome role to I'd worked at Bally when it was still Bally for 7.5 years before that as a salesperson and in management. And then I was only in management. And then I ran national sales for Konami at the end. And, I could have probably made a move to some of the bigger boys, but when Andrew came along, and for people who don't know Andrew, his background is high finance. He was with Alpine Investors. So he'd done the private equity thing. And then he came and worked with you fellas and really took that rocket ship off the ground. And for me, he had the CEO role, and a lot of the things he talked about, I got to interview the private equity folks as well, but were really interesting to me. It's like, let's build something from the ground up, have a total say in what we're doing, his, authentic self on who Andrew is, and family first, and all this sort of things really resonated with me. And I was like, if I get a chance to build something, maybe get a piece of the company as we go forward and do some really cool, unique, out of the box things like you guys did with, Colossal and your big red piece and some of those other sort of things. Some of Andrew's vision was really enticing and interesting to me. So I'm thrilled. I mean, every day is something new, all these little small company isms, but other than that, I love the challenge. It's really fun.
Did Andrew buy you a pair of Yeezys when you took the position? Do you wear Jordans to work?
He bought me a pair of Jordans
yes.
that are so sweet that I actually bought my second pair. He 100% bought me Jordans to work, but I'm mostly a Vans guy. So I have on Vans today, but the Jordans, that is his authentic self. He is a sneakerhead like I've never met before. So that's been a new part of my repertoire. I mean, he's 38 and I'm 50, right? So part of me, I'm kind of like, is this what all the cool kids are doing?
That's what they do. I don't know if it's what the cool. I'm not doing it, so I don't know if I'm cool though. But it's he sees beauty in shoes that I will never see. He sees something like, how is that really anything someone would wear? But he's rocking it around the neighborhood.
Yeah, and for all the things that he does, it's interesting. He's brought in James Prince, who you guys work with, and Crystal on our finance side, and then John Helderman, who was an old Caesar's CFO guy, and he's also a lawyer, but like some really disciplined people that for people like Andrew and I, who sometimes are out there and dreaming the big thing and chasing rainbows, that they're kind of like a good anchoring for us and bring us back to the center. So there's some really talented people, again, with maybe skill sets that aren't necessarily mine, that I'm doing a lot of good learning from. So it's been great.
Yeah. So I've been getting a question. It's funny because I think a lot of people, when you're in sales in the biz, like a lot of people know who you are, and then they know that you know everybody else, right? So like people know, hey, I know Casey, I know Andrew, right? Not a big deal. So I've been getting some sidebars where they go, hey man, so like what the fuck is going on at Bluberi? Right. So like that seems to be the question on everybody's mind. So how would you describe it? Because obviously you're the one over there helping Andrew lead the charge and build this team. Like what's going on over there?
Yeah, he has his vision is something that I don't possess, like seeing things before they happen and a roadmap on how to do it. I think that was part of when I referenced the Alpine and what he did with you guys at AGS. I know he wore a bunch of different hats with you guys there, but knowing where we have deficiencies in talent in certain areas, we hopefully are going to have some product management guys from significant product management guys that'll be here by the end of summer from a couple of the big boys, if those things work out for us. But trying to align those sort of things with, our development team is in Canada. So he kind of reallocated everything, brought warehousing down here, accounting, finance, all down here. But our R&D folks are still in Canada. And so with COVID, it would have been challenging anyway. Now you have a whole nother set of circumstances. I mean, I literally have never been to our Canadian office.
Wow.
Right. So it's like, whoa, I can't wait to go shake their hand or break bread over a meal. So what's going on here is we're going to, if we're going to compete in the portrait cabinet space, and we have a 49-inch monitor that I put in the middle of Pechanga. We only got 6 games in there. I know you guys have 3 Star Walls because we've been paying attention. And by the way, Landon, you don't need me to blow any smoke up your skirt, but what you did in that market is not an easy thing to do. What I view as the most competitive market around there, selling your backside off. I'm sure there are plenty of end of the quarters where they said, hey, Landon, can you get another 10, 12, 20 games out the door? But, now I'm sure it's really challenging when you get to sort of a critical mass of like, how can I increase my fair share there? But, we're so small and really insignificant in Class 3. It's like if we can get 4 or 6 games that can kind of compete in that portrait cabinet space at 1.5, 1.6 at some really, high win per unit houses, like that's going to be awesome. And then we're going to go into some market disruptors. Andrew penned a deal with Bazillion, Steve Weiss's company. We'll have something later this summer that's kind of a mechanical reel that's really funky. And then down the road, we're going to have some other really cool cabinets that nobody else has. And then if we can kind of go into those segments where there's fewer people competing, what if we went to a mechanical stepper, right? Who's doing it well right now? Every does a great job. There's obviously great legacy stuff out of IGT and Bally or Cy Games that's been around for a long time. But if we have the mechanics to that, why don't we try looking at maybe a high denom 3-reel stepper, and then there's fewer people in that space. And then you become attractive to a bigger company, and then, kind of things move along that way. So I think that was kind of what's going on. That's kind of what I was sold on. And I know the principal, Newton Glassman, who runs Catalyst, who's our parent company, he is really keen on what we're doing. Andrew's vision, they run Gateway Casinos. So that's they're the largest operator of casinos in Canada. They bought Cirque du Soleil in the last 120 days. So they kind of have this little entertainment part of their portfolio now that I think they're pretty interested in. And, with Andrew's vision and I think some of the discipline and other people we put in place, we've got a good shot. I'm really bullish on us.
By the way, what you're talking about right now is the most fun part of our business, is being able to disrupt it, right? And the team that you guys are building over at Bluberi, I'm jealous. I love Andrew Burke. You're awesome. Like Steve Cohen, I'm so excited to see what you guys accomplish, and you couldn't have a better team. I'm pumped for you guys.
Thanks.
Kind of flip this because I don't even know if we really talked about it, but what got you into the gaming business?
I was going to say, you came over at 34, you said. So you had a long life before that. Like where'd What brought you to the casinos?
Yeah. So dumb luck. I was living in Vegas. I was running, I worked for Paychex, small, mid-sized payroll, right? They compete with ADP. Yep. That was an interesting sale because that's all or nothing, right? So if somebody wanted to have outsource their payroll or workers' comp and those sort of things, you come in and bid for the business, and either you got the business or you didn't. And here, what I love about the business is that there can be some camaraderie, right? There's a little space for everybody, as long as you can do the basics. And then we're all trying to fight for that extra, 15 or 20% where you kind of can win. I've always said, if we can win the ties when the people I work with, right? If we're the most professional, we have great follow-up, we keep our word, and those sort of things. And then if somebody's got 90 grand sitting around and I get the phone call, or Landon, I know you've got plenty of those phone calls, and Mike, there's plenty of people that you're managing right now that get those things. It's like, can we build that team? And then that's where you kind of take the next incremental step. But so in my past life, I did some selling where it was all or nothing. And that's what I've loved about this. But Steve Lehman, and he passed away last year, had a huge influence on my life. He and my wife grew up here in town. My wife was actually born in Vegas, believe it or not. I met her. I'm like, honey, nobody's from Vegas. And she was born at Nellis Air Force Base. Wow. She went to Vegas High when it was downtown. I mean, she lived on 7th Street. I mean, so talk about a true tough. Native. Yeah. So she and Steve, she actually worked with one of Steve's brothers who was like a hairstylist. My wife did nails forever. And she knew Steve, and we ran into him in an airport, and we exchanged numbers. And he actually thought I was going to offer him a job. And he was such a unique guy. He had incredible personality and charisma. He was running all the big accounts, and he introduced me to Mark Morton in the fall of 2004, and I interviewed with Morty at Bally. So they were at Bally at the time. And I got hired in this top of 2005, and I had my strip, which was Laughlin. So I was going down there trying to compete with Kazoo back in his aristocrat days. Now he's back there again, but
full circle. Yeah.
I sat by Jim Bates, Trisha Lee, and Steve Lehman. And if you want to talk about 3 powerhouses of selling, I learned a ton. And, Dave Lucchese was there, who's at Every Now, and, Mickey Romer was there, and we had this incredible team there. And, Brian Pierce ended up coming, and Gavin came. But so in 2005, I got hired in to work at Bally, where I had literally Pahrump, Mesquite, Silverton, and Terribles. I got to work with Brian Cribbins, who was just a gem of a guy at Terribles. And I had Laughlin. And in fairness, Bally went out and bought SDG, which was the Bluebird cabinet for WMS. And once we got Alpha, the system, people were cheering for Bally to get back in it. So I kind of had dumb luck and really good timing to be there. So all I did is kind of show up. Steve said, Lehman said, you're going to go down to Laughlin every Wednesday. And I went down every Wednesday for 2 years. And those people were so good to me and so patient with me. And we had some product that worked. We came out with a great 5-rail stepper. And so I looked like a pretty smart guy at the time. But I did have a coaching background and a management background. I was, Rush chairman of my fraternity. I had the college golf coaching, and I had managed at Paychex. And so when Brian Pierce came in, he said, hey, would you want to manage the West? And Adam Whitehurst got hired into Bally at the same time. So Adam, I literally started our management tenure in 2007 at Bally at the same time. And so then I managed parts of the West. I had Canada, not Oklahoma. And then in 2012, I showed up at Konami and managed the West and did pick up Oklahoma. And that's such a unique market. You guys have such a big footprint there, right? Just kind of blows your mind. And so that's that. So now here we are 16 years later.
That's wild. So, well, I'm glad just for all the stories and good times that you didn't recruit Lehman into paycheck processing and that he recruited you into slot sales. Cause I wouldn't even know, the industry would be totally different if there was Stevie Lehman left to go do paychecks. So that's great that he got you this way.
Yeah, he had an amazing ability. And I will tell you, this is something, another one of those things, with Landon, when you asked, I watched him and his ability to treat a maintenance worker or a new level slot person the same as he did the president of MGM or anybody else along the way. And then he watched all those people, Justin Beltram and all these people along the way, graduate into bigger roles, Mike Gatton and Volker and all these people. And Steve had an amazing ability to treat people well, and kind of his charisma would carry the day. He'd have UNLV, NCAA basketball tournament things at his house, and he'd have everybody across the board there. And it was just, he had a real gift, and it was something that I don't have it. You can't have that. You either have it or you don't.
Right. So, one of a kind, big loss for us.
Yeah. I guess I look at people that are so much better than me in a lot of different areas, but I like getting together with people and I always view myself as the glue guy. So I'm here with Andrew right now, and I'm pulling accounting together and working with finance and things. And I just really kind of enjoy, just working with a team and building something authentically. So that's kind of where we are today. And it's just been really great. Every day is a new challenge.
Where does that come from? Because I definitely notice in any successful team, you have the glue guys, and then you typically have your like superstars, right? Like, just keeping the analogy going, that could be more of the Andrew who's out in front, right, as a CEO. But the glue guys are ultimately, like, I think almost more critical, right? I mean, it's the reason that a lot of the superstars are teaming up now, right? Like, one guy's not winning the NBA championship or even the World Series. So were you always a glue guy, like in your life in general, like in your friends group growing up, like in some of the coaching? Is that just consistent with who you are, or how did you learn to be that guy?
Yeah, because I never felt like I was a good sales rep, like individually for myself. Like Lauren Bates, and she kind of did Landon before you did it, like sold that market like nobody sold it before, right? I mean, crushed it with her preparation and professionalism and smarts and all those sort of things. And like when I'd watch people like that, I was like, whoa, that's not me. I just always have liked kind of working with a group. When I worked for Dwayne, he had a really good saying that, David Ledbetter, if you ever went down and got lessons from him in Florida, he would teach one way to sort of swing. And Dwayne would always say, look, there's not one swing for everybody, but everybody has one swing. And so if you try and find how to manage people, you can't manage everybody the same. You got to manage them differently. Atlanta, I think you referenced that maybe even in your Gavin podcast or something recently, but everybody's different nuances, and then trying to marry them up with the market that they're responsible for. Or surrounding themselves, if they have really glaring weaknesses, can you either fix those weaknesses or pair them with somebody who can sort of have those weaknesses and kind of almost turn them into strengths, or at least you can close that gap and allow them to be really efficient. And so, I wasn't the best salesperson. I just really I'm really interested in people. Yeah. I genuinely like, people that we deal with too in the industry. I've learned a lot about the history of how the tribes and the people in the various tribes have been treated. And that's been, Jeff Martin in Arizona, who, you guys know or have dealt with all at some point. He's one of my best friends along the way. Or you spend time with Jacob Jeff and some of those people. Like, it's just some really interesting people. And I've just always enjoyed working with different people and watching how they operate, because then it either makes me a little better, I have a new appreciation for how they do things.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I kind of want to pivot real quick. This is what I do. I always just ask the most randomest questions ever, but I was curious, and I want to get this on the podcast, because when we spoke to Andrew, he was going to say, Bluberi is going to stick to what Bluberi knows best. And he was referencing class 2, but I kind of see you guys pivoting in another direction in terms of, video and class 3 as well. So are you guys still in that same mindset that you're going to stick with what you know best, class 2? Or are you guys starting to focus more on video class 3?
Great question. So everything we develop will be available on TLS for Washington. It'll have a class 2 component and class 3. We know the math is not the same. So that takes a whole nother level of making sure you have mathematicians and programmers for class 2, class 3 and TLS, right? Because you got to think a little differently. But that's a totally fair question. And when I showed up, over 50% of the business came from Miccosukie's, the Porch Creek folks, and Washington. And so that part of our base, I mean, the company's been around for 25 years. Not a lot of people know that. They've changed hands a few times, but that foundation is strong. And we have some great math out there. Our back-end system is super strong, and it's attractive to people. So we are not abandoning that at all. I mean, I've been down to Porch Creek. I've actually already made, I think, 3 trips down there since I started, but they are a critical customer for us. We have over 600 games on their floor, and making sure we kind of take care of the foundation of what the company's about is important. And so, no, we're going to continue to evolve in class 2, but also kind of get into new markets. So our first games are going live at Isleta in New Mexico. So we've never had games in New Mexico tomorrow. And then the next 90 days, Maryland, Arizona, and Michigan will all come online. And so we're just trying to be measured. You got to have field service people in the right area. And I am not a licensing or compliance person. I've learned more about that in the last 180 days than I've ever thought I would on, oh my gosh, well, the paperwork's done here, but this cabinet wasn't submitted. And then there's another GAT testing here, and wild.
I don't envy the compliance job. That's the 150-page document is like a light one. It's like, man, the stuff they have to churn through just to get it done is tough. I'm not suited for that.
Yeah, so we got a deep, Landon, to answer your question, we kind of have a great recur business and a foundation to the company, and we're going to continue to maximize that and take advantage of it where we can. But Class 3 and some of these new jurisdictions that we've never been in are going to be really interesting. The folks that got here before us, we had one license in Kansas and one in Ohio, and a couple with the Senecas in New York. And it's like, all right, how can we sort of consolidate our efforts and make sure, we're not going all over the place. So we're gonna be a little more thoughtful about the markets we enter, make sure we're prepared, the road mapping on the cabinets. And if you're going to stand behind a piece of hardware that somebody has to write down over 60 months, that, that they're comfortable with the roadmap, just all those things, just being real thoughtful. And, we have Leslie Hodges is here. She came over after working with you guys, she authored Game On and always did a great job with your booth. She just finished a rebrand and a new logo for us that you guys are going to love because it's right up AB's, background or what he'd like. We had all this cookie cutter stuff, and then we pivoted over, and it ended up being, it is the coolest logo, coolest branding out there. So I can't wait for you guys to get to see it. It's really awesome.
That'll be fun. Excited. When does that debut? Is that like a G2E thing, or what's the timing? When do we get to see it?
No, it'll be out before that. Well, actually, we're trying to, our principal's coming down here in the next couple of weeks, so we're trying to have the office ready. So if we have something like that, you guys might have to come by the showroom, and I'll show you.
Swing by, do some, that'll be fun.
I'm going to ask AB right now in the podcast if we can do a max bet exclusive for the launch of Bluberi logo.
That's it. Come on, we'll do all the branding. We'll do it in your room. Perfect.
Yeah, I will say at some point somebody said, "Can we get some drip with that logo?" So I'll leave it at that.
Oh boy.
Getting some drip. Boy. That's it. That's probably Andrew asking that question actually, but yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, no, that's
we had some other people in accounting say, "What's drip?" And then
they're younger than him and they're like, I don't understand the lingo.
Right.
It's
I only know it because I've got 20 something. So otherwise
that's it. Yeah. You just dial it in.
So outside of Bluberi, what excites you most about what's up and coming in the gaming space? So it could be like innovations, online gaming, cashless. What excites you most?
Yeah, the online space, what that can do and how you marry online with brick and mortar, right? Because I think going to a casino with your pals, and I've heard some of your stories over time, and I like when people share at the end about their gambling story. That's a great part of your podcast. But those have been some of my most fun nights, right? You pool some money together with a group of people and you go around and you can play like you're a whale or something. But so how the online space merges, everything through the phone, how you compensate people. I think that was another thing maybe you and Gavin were talking about is like, hey, not just on spend, but if I'm going to be at the day club and I'm going to have high-end dinners and those sort of things, how we bring those worlds together. I think the facial recognition is really interesting and compelling. Like, where's the privacy line? How do different jurisdictions interpret those sort of things? I know they're doing a ton of things in Europe that we're way behind on already today, but how regulatory views it, America stateside, if I'm talking short term, and how those things, how quickly we can get to market with the online and things through the phone on dragging people in and see if we can getting more people through the door. I mean, everybody always talks about, how can we get younger? We got to, target a younger demo. Well, those younger demo always gets older and wants to play anyway, but how do you give them a compelling reason to come in? I'm sure Resorts World is going to do some really cool things, when they open up. And so that for me is kind of like, as I'm sitting here with Andrew, I'm like, hey, this is so cool. What is our online plan? And we got to get some things right here with, just delivering our standard product. But I think that is so compelling. Where does this thing go and how do those things, come together? I think, when you look at the big three in Cygames, IGT and Aristocrat, they have so many levers and they're in so many different verticals that when you talk to some of the guys who run the strip or, guys or gals back in the day, and they'd say, hey, 90 or 93% of my CapEx or OpEx is already locked up because those big three can do it. Well, yeah, I get it. It made tough, point of entry for you guys to kind of enter the market. When I was at Konami, we struggled to have a compelling reason for a while on how we were going to get there. So how those things come together and what we look like as an industry in 24 or 36 months is just really interesting to me. I've got so much to focus on right now, but as I read things and pay attention to what some of our peers and friends are doing that we've kind of made connections with, and how can you get California off the stick and finally get all these things that people want a piece of going forward? I'm just really interested there. I'm sure you guys probably feel the same. Anything different?
I can't wait to see the European companies and how they disrupt the big three, right? You've got like Evolution, Todd Househalter. They've got horsepower, man. You've got IGT and Side Games are like, we don't really need to worry about it. Evolution comes over when everything starts getting approved, and it's like, oh shit, we got to really be on our game here. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Yeah, I think that dream, I mean, a lot of times, back when I was even into Side Games era, that was like that one wallet, one unified casino experience vibe, right? Like, I think we're getting closer to that, but that coming to life will be interesting, right? Like, for example, I'm a Vegas guy, so I play at, Stations or whatever, M Resort, and you go, okay, if I can download that app and have a cashless wallet that I can use for sports betting, online gaming, beam it into the slot machine, like, I don't know how far away we are from that. I would actually suspect closer to it than we think. But that to me is like really, as a player, where I go, okay, this is awesome. Because I don't have to worry about it. I just put money in the ecosystem and now I'm moving around. And if I'm at home betting on hockey, good. If I'm in the property, I can do that. If I can now use it, even get it to the point where you're using it at point of sale payments, going, hey, took the wife to dinner, just bang, here's my app, pay for it that way because I was up from the slot machine or the table or whatever. I think that is the most exciting piece. And then obviously the content within that, like to the Evolution perspective, where you're watching a game show going, hey, I'm watching, Casey Whalen spin a big wheel and I'm loving it, right? Like that's a fun thing too. So yeah, I think it's exciting, but definitely the engagement on mobile online is going to be big for the industry. And that's probably what I'm most excited about. Just
even like the marker tracks piece, that having credit at the slot, right? I know they're trying to launch it there at Ellis Island. They got a deal with Morongo and I think Pachanga and a few others, but what Charlie Skinner and Mark Morton's selling there now, like that's an interesting product too, right? That if you can have that right there and I don't have to step up away from my game, like that's pretty compelling too,
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool to see all the innovation and it's fun to see the way our industry is starting to mirror broader industries, right? So you always have the big players, right? Like, so in our industry, you mentioned the big three. Then you have like Apple and Google, right? In the broader technology sector, but then you have all these small shops that are like, we're just going to go double down on one thing, do it really well. So then they drive this innovation that fuels what is now Apple Pay, but they got snatched up, right? So you're going, okay, they did it. And now it becomes convenient because it's part of the bigger thing. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully that's what happened. I mean, I don't know if that's what these guys want to have happen, but I'm assuming like if the market tracks or something where they go, we have mastered this. And now, hey, guess what? Now it's convenient because Side Games has put it in, their 500,000 system installs or whatever, however many games they cover. That'll be good. Because I think the only downside of all this innovation will be if I have to have 14 apps to make it work, it's not going to be good. Yeah. Right. But if we can do it to where we bring it all together, like an Apple, Google model, that to me is going to be fun.
You get Amazon.
Yeah. Amazon. Yeah, exactly.
Now, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. That's big money there.
Well, Casey, this went quick, man. And this has been an awesome conversation. I always like to ask if there's anything that you wanted to kind of talk about on the podcast that we missed. This is your opportunity before I ask you a crazy gambling story.
Yeah. So I think for me, like, I just always, as you guys, have continued influence in your organization, whoever ends up listening to this, I've always felt like how you treat internal customers is really important, right? Like people get so focused on the end user and the casinos and the tribes and those things are important, but I'm like the day-to-day, like, can you have joy in work day to day and treating the people that, make substantially less, but are there and they're diligent and they work hard all the time. Like for me, I didn't think you can't carve dead wood if they would. Right. And I just never wanted to manage people. And I know Andrew feels the same way. And that's where he and I had a lot of connection, but like, I just, as we go forward, it's like, if you can try to treat people that you work with day to day, just, well, I just think that's something that I continue to think about and be thoughtful about as you watch peers and how they treat other people in the building and stuff like that. But like philosophically, like, we're not all here for a long time and we are lucky to have these jobs. And I actually don't want the secret to get out that I've made a career out of this because I'm waiting for somebody to say the jig's up and you're out of here. But that's really it for me. It's like, how many good people can you surround yourself with? Try and work towards a common goal. And then things are always going to break, right? So Landon, no matter how great an order you put in there together and you have the shipping and all the compliance is ready and the customer's ready, like a truck breaks down, the bill validator wasn't right. And I people who do our job and work specifically in this segment, I always say, look, we are paid to triage things and work when things break, right? Anybody can manage when it's great. How do you handle things when it's bad? How do you treat internal customers? Maybe the person in sales operations made a mistake, not malicious. How do we make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
And I just would say, when things get bad, and kind of embrace that suck and lean into it and figure out how you can work through it. Because I see the most successful relationships I have and those sort of things are the people who can handle it when the bullets are flying. So that's just kind of an overall approach to the business and my personal life too, that I try and take is like, let's just be a little better today than we were yesterday. Right. So that's all I have.
That's huge, man. That's great advice. And especially the part about the internal customer. I mean, speaking of salespeople, we deal with external and internal. A lot of folks are just purely internal, but I think I've seen that. That's probably tripped up more people than I probably could count. Right. Because I think what people fail to realize is they're trying to grow their career and go, man, how do I get to be the VP or the SVP or the chief of whatever? Right. And I think people underestimate how many votes there actually are on your promotion. Right. So like if I wanted to be promoted today, right? Like, and Adam's my boss, but like he could say, it ain't just him. He could say, I want to do this, but he's probably going to source it. Half a dozen other influential people in the company. And if one or two of them go, yeah, well, not feeling that guy. He was kind of a jerk at the last thing, or he didn't, he doesn't really treat these guys right. Well, I'm done, right? Because it's not going to be worth it to have that, kind of cancerous personality at the higher level. So yeah, that's really good advice. I mean, treating that people. And I think where a lot of folks go wrong is they don't realize how influential that receptionist might be in the decision-making process. Cause she's going to vent at the coffee pot to whoever and go, oh, I didn't know Casey was that kind of guy. That's not cool. Like he's stuck where he is now, like it's wild to see how often that trips people up.
Well, not only that, Mike, my dad always told me every man everybody puts their pants on the same way every morning. Sure. We're all human. We all have emotions. We all have feelings. We all have families. Like everybody is important. Right. So that's a great piece of advice. Treat everybody like you want to be treated. And with that being said, let's talk about a little bit of gambling, huh?
Yeah. From the golden rule to the golden jackpot. Let's
go.
So now this is going to be different. This is off script than what you think, but you guys will love the story because you know the guy. So I told you my strip was Laughlin, and every year they had the river run, right? So it was October-ish, whatever it was, but it was an abnormally hot river run, and I didn't have a place to stay. And the king of Laughlin at the time was Joe Kazoo, right? Oh, yeah. Joe's probably still the king of it, Anybody who doesn't know Joe, couple buttons open, gold chain,
crucifix,
all the great things you love about, hockey Joe and all that stuff and known him forever. So Steve and Joe were really close. I mean, as close as anybody. And maybe Joe and Tommy O'Brien are closer, but anyway, really close. And so Steve said, look, anything you need to do, Joe will get your back. So Wednesday nights, Losers Lounge, which is really sketchy. Been there, Mike?
Yes, I have.
So good.
The way to be. Yeah.
At the Riverside.
That's it.
Yeah. So I would go down there all the time. But so anyway, so Joe goes, hey, River Run, you don't have a place to stay. Come stay with me. Gary Hahn was a guy running the Riverside at the time. Donnie Nelson's there. Donnie and Gary work side by side. And he goes, well, Gary's got an RV across the street and we could stay there together. And I was like, shoot, I'm going to get to be with Joe.
Some guy's RV is perfect.
Yeah. Me and Joe.
Go wrong.
And dude, this was like a fifth wheel and not a big fifth wheel.
Yeah.
So we go out, we have a good time. Joe has a bunch of pops. He's holding court like he always does. It's probably down to like 4 buttons. And so we go and it's end of the night and I'm sober. So I'm dragging Joe back in my car. Let's go to bed. And I walk in and we hadn't been in there. And this was like, I don't know if it was a single, it probably wasn't a single. Let's call it a full bed. And it is hot. Like we're getting hot box. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to sleep with this? So Joe, right out, boom, boom, boom. And he's in like tidy whities or briefs at best. And so I slept next to Joe Kazoo, sweating one night in Laughlin. And I will never forget it. I mean, he's all-time great guy. And it was just hilarious. But that was it's not my gambling story, but it's kind of my gambling
night out. You guys didn't pre-scout the trailer. You just decided to wing it at like 1 a.m. when he's 3 sheets. That's hilarious.
Roll the dice, man. Roll the dice. But Joey and I slept literally back to back in a hot trailer for, I don't even know if I got 8 hours.
If,
but,
oh my God.
If I woke up next to Joe Kazoo cuddling me in boxer briefs, I would quit drinking 100%. I would be done.
It makes me tear up. It was so fun. He was so good to me. Introduced me to all these people, but boy, that was a night I'd like to have back. So
that was an initiation. The best part about Kazoo is he's probably like, nah, it's all good. It's no big deal. It's not even weird. It just happens.
Doesn't even remember it.
Yeah,
you asked him, he probably doesn't even remember it.
Kiss you on the forehead before you went to bed, dude.
You're my guy. Yeah, don't worry about it.
The big bear hug. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll tap you. He goes, hey, I got an 8 o'clock call. If you could wake me up, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a legend story that is. I can't wait.
We'll let that count. That was good.
That's better than most. Yeah, I'll take it. Okay, so back to thank you for coming on. So you weren't challenged officially, but a lot of people behind the scenes were like, dude, you got to talk to Casey, right? So you were an unofficial challenge, but thanks for jumping on. So who would you like to see us chat with in a future episode? And as we say, bonus points if you can connect us.
Okay, so your boss is going to hate me for it, but Adam has a great story to tell. He is, like I said, touched so many people's lives. He's such an influential guy. He's so thoughtful. Lived on the Indian reservation for a while. That's why his brother's name's Mesa and his sister was Keisha, right? I mean, so, played football at Florida. Actually started at Fordham, which was he always would call big boy academics. So Adam's a great one. I'll let that. But my real interesting guy is Dan Simon. And Dan currently, and I wrote his title down because he just got a new one, is VP of Global and Commercial Business Development at IGT. Yeah. And Dan lives in Denver. He's born and raised. He is volunteer ski patrol at A Basin. He's a world-class kayaker. His dad owned the Black Diamond Casino for a while. Then they sold it. Then he became a distributor and was the entry point for Bally because they couldn't get a license at the time. So they repped all the Bally product. And then he and I worked alongside as peers. Yeah. And then he moved on to IGT. But his parents own like Bonnie Bray Ice Cream in Denver, which is known as like the #1 ice cream place. Yeah. A renaissance man. And he's getting his Wharton MBA. I think he's like a week away from getting it done. So I will ping Danny. He is a super interesting guy, like wild, cool spectrum of things he's done in his life. So Dan Simon, that's my guy. And I'll deliver Dan for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know Dan from our time at Bally. He's a legend, just like you described. I'll never forget. We're just driving. He had to like run to his house or something, right? So we just swung by, grabbed something out of it, from his home office. And then we saw the ice cream shop, right? So I'm like, oh, that's a big, like, you don't see that in Vegas, these big corner store.
Yes.
And there's a line, right? So there's like a line going into it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. He goes, you want to go later? I go, yeah, if you want some ice cream. He goes, no, my family owns it, so we could go anytime. I'm like, oh, dude, nice. Like we didn't end up doing it because we were up in, we had to go out to Blackhawk or whatever. But I was like, man, that would ruin me. Being an owner of an ice cream store. I'm done because I could eat ice cream like nobody's.
Kansas guy. He took me to our first Kansas basketball game. A really cerebral, bright guy, but also a guy that just really talented. Him and Adam are kind of my go-tos when I'm like, dude, I'm thinking about this. What do you do?
Yeah, nice. Really
plus, next time I'm like feeling down or having a bad day, you're gonna be my go-to guy to just pick my step up because literally just the fire within. I love it. You've been awesome.
Good energy. Thanks. Yeah, man. This is fun. Energy. Thanks for coming. I'll have to do it again sometime. Get you and Burke on it.
Appreciate it.
So people may not know this, but Landon's moving to Vegas. We've talked about that. So he's coming in a couple weeks. As part of that, we're going to build a studio so we can do these, he and I'll at least be together. So when we do that, we'll have to have you and AB back to talk in person and break in the studio for us.
No more San Diego?
So
taxes are high.
This is kind of a MaxBet exclusive, but we're building the studio. We've got some other cool things on the horizon with MaxBet. It's not just the podcast. So we've got some cool stuff in the pipe. And I actually right now I have a 12-foot spotted maple table being built. Massive piece of spotted oak. So we're building this huge MaxBet table so we can have mics kind of more like the Joe Rogan style. So we can just pick our game up with MaxBet Media a little bit. And it's just kind of hard to do it from San Diego. Plus taxes are killing me. Thank you, California. I love San Diego. I will be back. This is just a stepping back to step forward.
Quick trip to the old desert. Mike. Yeah, no worries.
Are you in North Park? Like what part of town are you?
Gaslings are right there.
I live downtown San Diego, across the street from the Hilton.
That's awesome.
It's in 100-year-old old soap factory, which we redid it. And I love this place building. I love San Diego. I will be back. This is just a side journey for me. So
that's it.
Thank you, Mike.
No, thank you for coming to the desert. And we're scooping it with Casey. He's interviewing us now about the new studio. It's all good.
I know.
But perfect.
I love Nona in Little Italy. That's my spot. Oh my gosh, their rosa sauce is amazing. So
boom. There it is. Go to Nona's and we're all good. So Casey, thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on. This has been fun.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
You got it, brother.
Cheers.